5, and here is my LinkedIn profile. And so, as promised, I said that I was going to tag Morans with that press release that was given by the Committee of Oversight within the American government to tag one on LinkedIn, but I'll get into that. But before that, because my LinkedIn account might get zapped again, it's already round 3. I did want to share this post. So breaking news, the U.S. Supreme Court has handed down its unanimous, which is rare, decision in the closely watched Ames versus Ohio Department of Youth Services. It was a court hearing that just was completed on the 5th. I believe it was the 5th. DEI is institutional racism and must be removed from all companies and institutions in the United States. Canada should follow suit. So this is where I tagged Lieutenant General Jenny Carignan, who I've called out before, and I mean this respectfully. Like I know you can't really like call someone out respectfully, but I don't know who she is as a person. Like I don't know her personally. I've heard a lot of negative information about her throughout her career, and I know that she was of this woke DEI witch hunt for people within the Canadian Armed Forces, completely dismantling like the traditions and culture, and accelerated it into what it is today, with like record low numbers, low retention rate, people getting out that are high quality, people that got kicked out during COVID, people still in the courts. She was also fully enforcing the mandates and Can 4 gens regarding COVID, so she got that wrong. The DEI stuff, like I was saying, respectfully got it wrong. And the reason why I'm calling her out and people like Wayne Eyre from before her is because this hurts people. She has hurt people with these initiatives, and so has Wayne Eyre, and caused a lot of unnecessary harm and suffering, including to people that I know personally. And I've talked about it before, where I was putting in like together memorandums, which is official military correspondent for hundreds of people within government and in so many different departments, but mostly the military, because that's my background. But I was talking to someone that got kicked out. He had deployments. His was former Special Forces, incredible family of legends, and he was well on his way to be just like his uncle, and like very fit, very smart and stuff like that. But again, he got kicked out during COVID. And again, I knew him from years prior. I was actually one of his references to get in. So it was so unfortunate that he was getting information from people like me. And had he not got that information from me, it would have still been in, I'm sure. And anyways, so this is what he was saying just a couple of days ago when we were talking, because I invited him to do a podcast so he can get his story out. And he was in the infantry. He was a Royal Canadian Regiment. He was RCR. So I asked about what's going on, and then he said, "I appreciate that. Yeah, and you provided pretty well all my data that I used, and actually gave me fuel when I was going to be charged. Without that, have based on bullshit." But anyways, and so this is not me tooting my own horn. I don't do that. I hate when it sounds like I'm being self-aggrandizing. It's just to show you this guy that I can't name yet because I want to be respectful, but yeah, anyways, just a lot of information. And so I was giving information to everyone, and these memorandums were directed to the Chief of Defense Staff, Wayne Eyre, and so it should have got to his level. Again, I would like, there was even officers that I was giving these templates to, and gaslit. And so Jenny Carignan, like even with this woke DEI stuff and these court and these witch trials for sexual harassment and assault within the Canadian Armed Forces. I'm not saying that this is not stuff that needs to be investigated, but the approach to this and how it was conducted, even when I was in, and that's not it. And I was one of the people that was trying to speak out on what we could do, and the expectations of being a hard target, and being realistic, especially like if you're going to go within various trades, standards, all that stuff. But anyways, and so people on a witch hunt were making it seem like even microaggressions could be sexual assault, or a hug too long, or having a door closed without other people in the room. So ridiculous things, especially for people, again, in the combat arms that are outside a lot, not in an office setting. And these people are applying these office settings with your room temperature friggin' offices to people in trades where it's primarily male dominated. I'm going on these tangents, but high ranking generals their careers were ruined, and she like again was of no support to these men, these hero men like JD Vance, General Vance, and Admiral Cadieux, I believe it was Admiral or Admiral Willon. Anyways, I'll just say last names. I know Wayne Eyre, obviously he's Patricia, so he was a general. And then you've got Cadieux and Willon and Fortin, Major General Fortin, who there was all these allegations, and a lot of them false and debunked, that were put out there when they were high-ranking officers, like the CDSs, and they were ones that were did not want the mandates to be pushed, or the Can 4 gens with the extreme measures during COVID. And what happened? Oh, allegations from like 30 years ago, or again ones that were dropped because it was lies, or accusations of sexual misconduct. But again, it was with someone that was it was known for many years with everyone. And again, this guy was incredible at his job, and he was a good person. And again, no one's friggin' perfect, but he had a mistress for a long time. And that all came out when he was the chief of defense staff. But the thing is, like, if you think that there are not stories that are way, way worse than that with people that are in the House of Commons right now, or people that have been city, like councilmen or politicians, why don't you ask news updates for real? And there are people that I know that, again, we're working with in city council. I've talked about this before, and they witnessed and were part of, I'm not saying John, I'm saying the people that I know from years ago that I've hired for, anyway, they, it's drugs, sex, and rock and roll. And fully, like, and again, like, the law enforcement overlooks this stuff in the Ottawa area and the downtown cores, and I don't know why, because it's rules for thee and not for me. Anyways, all these tangents. But so Canada's chief of defense staff addressed the Canadian Armed Forces most senior ranking members a few months ago, announcing that DEI is here to stay, when asked if she would change her policies in response to Trump and the U.S.'s most recent changes within the United States military. This was a couple of months ago, and I mentioned this, that there are people from within that are also saying that she is not it for chief of defense staff. It's not because she's a woman; it's because she's not it for the job for so many different reasons, and she's pushing a woke DEI narrative, and that's how she was hired and why she was hired. She's definitely not the best for the job. I know friggin' 30 guys right off the top of my head that are still serving that would be way better than her and more experienced, and again, respectfully, and they're tracking things. And know a lot more about COVID than she does, or is willing to even listen to or consider, and then this DEI stuff. So anyway, so she had a meeting, as I mentioned, with high-ranking officials. This was like, I think, January timeframe. Anyways, I've done videos on it, and Trump had just inaugurated, and then he started passing these bills about, taking the woke DEI stuff out of the military and other government organizations, and now he's gone insofar as to completely remove trans people from the military, which I thought was interesting. I don't agree with that aspect of it. People that are exploiting the system and not actually trans, yes, and there's a lot more of those, unfortunately, that there are people that are actually genuinely trans that are going through these attention. Anyways, I won't get into it. But anyways, during that she's fully supporting it, and then I also mentioned in here that she signed a Can 4 gen last summer, as soon as she got in, creating a citation that can be worn on the uniform. And the number one criteria for this citation, this award that can be worn on the uniform, was DEI. And I've shared that Can 4 gen multiple times, and so you can look at either my social media or my videos. So I did tag Philip Miller, who's a lawyer and consultant. And he seems really intelligent. And so I asked him what his thoughts were on this. I'm just trying to get this out, right? So more about the Supreme Court case. The court unanimously held that a reverse discrimination plaintiff who brings a case under Title VII Rights Act of 1964, i.e. a member of a historically dominant or majority group, is not held to a higher standard of proof than a traditional discrimination plaintiff, i.e. a member of a historically marginalized or minority group. The opinion written by Justice Jackson is short and to the point. As the court stated simply, our case law makes clear that the standard for proving disparate treatment under the Title VII does not vary based on whether or not the plaintiff is a member of a majority group. What is most notable, perhaps, is a footnote in a concurrence by Justice Thomas, joined by Justice Gorush. Footnote states, A number of this nation's largest and most prestigious employers have overtly discriminated against those they deem members of so-called majority groups. American employers have long been obsessed with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and affirmative action plans. Initiatives of this kind have often led to overt discrimination against those perceived to be the majority. And so, and there's so many different links to different articles on it. I can share it, but it was Supreme Court rules, and again, it goes. I hate how they title their things, but in job discrimination suit. And oh, now New York Times is not letting me view it unless I pay for it. But anyway, you can look at it. I linked it, and then I gave just a few examples. Newsweek, again, these are not fully extremely credible sources, but I'm gonna stop sharing. And there's a video. Okay, why'd I say it like that? That was weird. I thought my mute was off. Okay, let's see what this is. Which sound?
Ruled an average of 3. The Warren Court, I think, overruled an average of 3.2 cases a year. The Berger Court, maybe surprisingly or not, an average of 3.4. The Rehnquist Court was significantly lower at 2.4, per year. The last I looked, the current average was 1.8. So the perspective of how many people overruled and all that, I think people have a misunderstanding about how much the current court is overruling precedent.
Amazing. And that is a good thing, because now this court case, like you say, as precedent for people that, are either not getting hired because of being a white man or a white woman and being straight. There's now precedents for this, and giddy up. Like Canada, the US, you now have something you can cite to start suing a lot of people. Oh, and look at this. I sided with a straight woman who claims she was discriminated against in the workplace after she was passed over for promotions that went to colleagues. The justice unanimously rejected a lower court's ruling that Marlene Ames could not sue for discrimination because she did not prove that the Ohio Department of Youth Services was the unusual employer who discriminates against the majority. Why it mattered. The decision, which is expected to trigger a slew of reverse discrimination lawsuits, exactly. And by the way, reverse discrimination, it's racism and it's discrimination. It's not reverse. Like, this is ridiculous. And so the majority, or at least it used to be, of people within Western countries are white. Okay. Oh my God, shocker. Guess what? White people make up 6 to 10% of the entire world population. And if you look at China, white people are not forcing themselves into, all of their government spaces and work spaces just because, and then expecting that we be promoted ahead of people that have been there. You know what I mean? I like ahead of Chinese people, or anyway, and it's nonsensical. The same thing with India and Pakistan and so many different places in the Middle East, and so, like, you name it. And yeah, but when you have leftist or reporting on this, of course they're going to have to make it more neutral sounding. Like, yeah, instead of saying conversion therapy, gender affirming care, it's not. It's conversion therapy, respectfully. President Donald Trump has banned DEI programs in the federal government and defund universities and certain agencies that continue to employ DEI. While Ames' case does not explicitly mention DEI, the ruling may make some employers review policies aimed at protecting minority groups. Aimed at protecting minority groups. It's not about protecting minority groups. It's about protecting people, human rights overall, collectively, in general. There's always going to be minority groups within majorities when you have immigration policies, and you have people that are practicing various different religions, or you have people practicing or have like various different characteristic traits. Like I have light green gray eyes, for example, which is like one of the rarest colors. Does that mean like I'm left-handed and whatever? Does that mean that I should be entitled to, like, it's just ridiculous. You can take this so many different ways. However, as a straight white employer, she was a member of a majority group and therefore had a greater burden to show background circumstances that proved that her employer had an unusual pattern of discriminating against the majority. Ames' lawyers argued that her lawsuit would never have been dismissed if she had been gay and the employees who were promoted above her were straight. The Supreme Court justices on Thursday unanimously agreed that the requirement to show background circumstances for majority group plaintiffs is inconsistent with federal law. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who wrote the opinion, said she agreed with Ames that it was unconstitutional to have different standards of proof for different groups of people. It should be merit-based. Yeah. Left no room for courts to impose special requirements on majority group plaintiffs alone. Little did I know that at the time that I filed that my burden was going to be harsher than somebody else's burden to prove my case. I want people to try and understand that we're trying to make this a level playing field for everyone, not just for a white woman in Ohio. Anyway, that was very interesting. So I'm going to go back onto LinkedIn because I want to share that post if it will let me. And then I'll get into comments because I see that there's already a few and I'm sorry for not getting them right. All right. So here it is. Okay. So I said that David Morin's this is posted 2 weeks ago now. So to my NIH colleagues and to all of the many other great scientists I have worked with over my 49 years as a government scientist, pseudoscientist, by the way, I don't use LinkedIn very often, but realized today I need to reconnect. I need to connect with all of you to stay in tune. Anyways, I can easily be reached on my long-standing Gmail and my private phone, which I had at NIH, but obviously my NIH contacts are now kaput. All the best, David. A bunch of comments. Great to hear from you. Wishing you all the best in this challenging time. Let's keep in touch. Eva Aren, Director, Hagstromer Medico Historical Library. From his son. What an amazing career. So proud of you, Dad. Now it's time to find something fun to sink your teeth into. Thanks for reaching out, David. I will keep you in mind for any exciting projects that we might be able to. Anyways, whatever. Well done. Hope you're doing well. Congratulations, Dr. David. You rock. This is Michael Sapol, visiting researcher at Uppsala University. Professor, PhD, head of the Center of Research on Pandemics and Society, Sven Erik Maimlund. Congrats on the retirement. I met you only once in 2008. Oh, wow. I was on a 3-month sabbatical at Penn State. Okay. And had asked to come to you and Jeffrey Taubenberger to talk about my work at NIAID, NIH in Bethesda. Great memories. Yeah. Deborah Capps, Studios Art Academy. Congratulations on your retirement. Your service and dedication are greatly appreciated. So anyways, I asked him if this was true. So all these comments are great. And then again, I'm here just to disrupt things. So anyway, I'm going to click the link and share it with you what I shared. So this is oversight.house.gov release / new COVID select memo details allegations of wrongdoings and illegal activity by Dr. Fauci's senior scientific advisor. I wonder who they're talking about. Oh, is it this guy that everyone's saying is a hero? Dr. Amazing? Anyway, new COVID select memo details allegations of wrongdoing and illegal activity by Dr. Fauci's senior scientific advisor. And this is from, so anyway, the select subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic released a staff memorandum titled Allegations of Wrongdoing and Illegal Activity by Dr. David Morins, senior advisor to National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, former director, Dr. Anthony Fauci, also a criminal. This memo presents overwhelming evidence from Dr. Morin's own email that he engaged in serious misconduct and potentially illegal actions while serving as a senior advisor to Dr. Fauci during the COVID-19 pandemic that killed a lot of people, caused a lot of suffering, caused a lot of harm in so many different ways. including even financially, economically. And so this guy needs jail. How the hell is this guy able to like post on LinkedIn, oh, I'm looking for a job, and everyone be like, oh, you're so amazing? No, no. The memo includes previously unreleased email correspondences obtained by subpoena that incriminates Dr. Morin in undermining the operations of the U.S. government. And they also deleted and destroyed a lot of evidence. Unlawfully, I already got to it. Anyway, unlawfully deleting federal COVID-19 records using a personal email to avoid the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, and repeatedly acting unbecoming of a federal employee. Further, the memo reveals new emails suggesting Dr. Fauci was aware of Dr. Morin's nefarious behavior and may have engaged in federal records violations himself. So you can read the memo here, view all the underlying evidence here. Like, this is government stuff, so let me just click it just to see the PDF that comes up. All right, Zoom meeting with Tony tomorrow. All right, we're gonna need to, all right. Boston University confidential treatment requested. Of course, Peter Daszak have friggin' also called out and named another criminal. 2, David Morris, Kush, Gerald, Rich Roberts, Robert Kessler, Alexei Chmura. I probably didn't say that right. Wednesday, April 21st, 2021. Political letters, bills, Cove research in China. Thanks for the email, David. Comments below. Also, please see the attached Word doc with links to some of the political action that I'm concerned about. Tell Tony that this is very early days, with most of these coming from the right. Oh my God. And many, yeah, so like not the right, it's people that were right, the people that were right, not from the right. And many that can be headed off at the pass by positive outreach to Democrats, which I believe people will be doing. I've also put in a link to the new COVID Commission Planning Group, COVID CPG, that has no official role from USG, but boldly states that its core mission to prepare the way for a national COVID commission. Members include David Relman and Mark Lipsitch, and I have heard from many on the conspiracy theory chatter networks online that this will focus partly on advocating for reduction in biosafety labs, viral work in wildlife, and gain of function. Please feel free, docs that I've sent to you with Tony. Hopefully you can do that in a way that avoids FOIA. And if not possible, just show him stuff on screen, share on Zoom. Please see comments below, Peter. And so again, this is all what they released. So again, a lot of stuff was, imagine what was destroyed or was avoided by FOIA. Echo Health Alliance. Of course, New York. Original message, April 21st, 2021. Okay, so Peter, I'm on leave in Florida for my graduation from tomorrow at 1:30. I will be having a Zoom call with Tony to tip him off on some of the info you sent in your recent email. I want to be sure about what info or docs you would or would not want me to share, any and all. Other than what I see on TV, the jousting with Rand Paul and Jim Jordan, for example, I do not know how much of this Tony is aware of. To my knowledge, he doesn't share it with anyone up here. I think issues he will be most concerned about are not your grant, although I add I am sure he would do anything he could to restore the funds and get the hellhounds off your back, but rather the possibility that people like Rep. Rogers and her committee are about to turn up the heat and put Tony personally in their crosshairs, and 2, the possibility the NIH scientists or other esteemed scientists are in cahoots with politicians wanting to attack him or NIAID. Peter Daszak. As background, we all went through the original versions of this crap about 10 years ago with the original gain-of-function attacks surrounding H5N1. As Tony's scientific advisor, I spent much of the year along with Jeff T helping brief him and get him up to speed, which he did. At the time, David Relman, who had been one of Tony's favorites, was leading the charge, and we all wondered why a young gay with so much promise would choose demagoguery over science. Oh my God. Lipsitch was only a minor player at this time, but realized his attack role and seemed to become more alarmist as time went on. Now these guys are in the NAM. How did that happen? Albright has always been a crackpot in the mold of Peter Duesberg. Remember, and no one took him seriously except some of the press who didn't know any better. I had the unfortunate issue of voting on Mark Lipsitch, membership of NAM. He's an accomplished scientist. He's also very opinionated, arrogant, and pushy on whatever issue he believes in. I voted on his document. I was unclear from your email on a couple of points you might clarify. Obviously, the Rogers letter asking me to produce all those docs not only overlaps with the lawyer letter to you, but could not have been written without the help of a virologist. Peter Daszak, I have it on good authority, Abright's Twitter account, that he was involved. They are also getting pressure from Jamie Metzel, who's working with the internet conspiracy networks actively to promote their research. Again, they're such friggin' losers. Like, people were actually doing real research, sharing real data on these networks, myself included, and these morons were like, it was, oh my God. Did you even open up the documents, you morons? No, you probably didn't. Actually, given that there are points in this letter that someone knowledgeable about coronavirus virology would have corrected, my suspicion is the letter was put together with the help of legitimate scientists who need to do more homework on coronaviruses. Oh my God. I think you might be talking about Dr. Robert Malone or Pierre McCullough or Botticelli, or, oh my God, so many people. Metzel isn't a virologist. Neither is Ebright. The internet researchers are led by a banker and some junior scientists, many from human genetics mole boil world are led by a banker. The irony in that statement. Do you agree, and do you think the person was Ebright? Do you think Roman Lipsitch, Imperial, or other current or former grantees might have been involved? I am not sure we ever funded Ebright, but we did fund the others. I would like to think that Relman et al. And first of all, it's not two L's, it's one. So if you were a freaking scientist or someone in the medical community, you would actually know that. This is what I mean. This guy thinks he's so freaking smart. And this email here, because he knows that this is something that would be viewed on the record. So like what he's doing is he's trying to cover his ass. Like, oh, we know about this, but they're so dumb and we're so smart. And like, oh, I just can't believe how dumb everyone is. Anyway, possible role of these folks are alarming. Can you be more specific about where this stands and what is being done to forward it and to squelch it? Nothing's being done to squelch it, which is bullshit. People were getting censored. People were getting targeted. People were getting their content removed. People were losing their jobs. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And now there should be there will be other committees that also pop up. My concern is their bold claim that they're laying the groundwork for a 9/11 type commission and have a 9/11 person involved. So they're afraid of getting this being investigated, and it's going to be. And maybe that just by saying that a lot and having well-known people involved, they end up forming one. They're clearly politically connected and are out of this politically. Jerry and I also proposed this in our paper published in Health Affairs, but we assumed this would be led by NAM or some other well-respected institution. Is it the National Institute of Medicine, I'm assuming? Anyways, when I speak with Tony, I did not, because I go to NAM, like, you know, when I served in NAM, Vietnam. When I speak with Tony, I do not want to step into the politics of all this, as that's not my job, and he wouldn't want me to. If he needs further info, it might be best to connect you two in an off-the-record manner. Would that be okay? We are getting FOIAs nonstop. We are getting FOIA'd nonstop, and it's most important that Tony not have anything on the record that can come back to bite Peter and back to bite. Oh my God, these people. Peter doesn't totally agree. Tell him I'm happy to speak with him at any time, and we'll do so in a way that's not FOIA-able. One thing I would do is either on a Zoom call or by sending you a document, is lay out responses to the Menendez questions so the arguments are known and well supported. For example, everyone's saying that this is a gain of function, and you know it's This bill is the only one that stands a chance so far of becoming law because it's bipartisan. The WIV gain of function stuff is thrown in as a very small part of it. The draft wording only calls for a report from NIH after 180 days of these issues. They are easily addressed. However, if it does pass and the anti-China mood hardens in the U.S. and calls to testify, and the Republicans may use that to undermine NIH and in particular Tony, given the rabid gain of function myth they've been building. That's Fauci, by the way, Anthony Fauci. Anything you think might be helpful, I'd appreciate. Thank you, David. Sent from my iPhone. And then it goes on from David Morans. Thank you, Peter. This should be really helpful. I'm still somewhat mystified by the self-styled committee. However, is there any evidence anyone will listen to them other than the political crazies? Wow. And they know that this is a lie. Again, they're just painting a narrative on an account they know is going to be looked at to make it seem like, oh, we were the ones that were right, or we thought we were right. We don't have any tradition that I'm aware of by which private citizens can propose forming groups with specific agendas to supplant the legitimate work of the government. Well, they did. And it's because of you. Are these folks trying to essentially form a science lobbying group? If so, I believe they will fail. Well, they didn't, and they won't. On second thought, I am not 100% sure of that. It's worrisome. Whatever the case, this could be dangerous for you, but also easy for the administration to put the kibosh on. Surely the Biden admin will not let any such group anywhere near a position to interfere with federal agencies, and surely not DHHS, or am I mistaken? D. This is David Morans. You friggin' clown. Scoundrel. Thanks for the email, David. Comments below. Also, please see the attached Word doc with links to some of the political actions that I'm concerned about. Anyway, this is a long 155 pages. NIH director conspiracies are winning here. Rachel today, November 19th. So I guess this is 2021. Good morning and welcome to our first Health 2 collab with our good pal Yasmin Abu Taleb, who wrote today's top with us. Today, the House is planning to pass Biden's social spending bill after a record-breaking speech from House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Ugh. Conspiracies are winning here. Truth is not losing. This is so friggin' ridiculous. That's a really serious indictment of the way in which our society seems to be traveling, said Collins, who will soon step down as the National Institute of Health director after serving in both Republican and Democratic administrations. Yeah, Collins, okay, so you should be in jail too. So again, I might link this. It's not, by the way, our conspiracies are we're not theorists. When conspiracies are proven to be true, they are no longer theories. They have shared measurable, repeatable, observable data that proves that there was conspiracies by these people. This is why I like this needs to be like they need to be held accountable in a peaceful way. Like I'm saying, jail. It's not rules for thee, not for me. David Morant, PhD captain, United States Public Health Service, senior advisor to the director. Yeah. Lee Winters. The last spread disinformation about the origins of the virus. Okay, wait. So now deleted tweet. Daszak's deletion of the tweet follows the national unearthing the scientists' extensive conflicts of interest with the Chinese Communist Party and its Wuhan Institute of Virology. These ties ultimately led to his recusal from the Lancet COVID-19 Commission, where he used his position to discredit the lab leak theory, spread disinformation about the origins of the virus. The unearthed post also follows Fauci, whose NIAID sponsored the event, denying affiliation with the Wuhan lab. This is, and that we found out to be a lie. You can train in the BSL-4 lab in Wuhan. See details below. This is Peter Daszak. So he's even making an announcement of that. Peter Daszak, 2019. Zhengyi Shi from the Wuhan Institute of Virology describing open and transparent international scientific collaboration on pandemic risk pathogens like Nipah at their BS4 lab. And yeah, so it was a lab leak. Whether it be intentional or not, it was gain of function. You could contract COVID via inoculation, and you could die via COVID from the inoculation. And I've shared the VAERS, which had to be people, they had to be sued to get this out just from Pfizer alone. And I have those receipts, and I've shared them. And yeah, it's Peter Daszak. Yeah, friggin' guy, man. These friggin' people in Fauci. Oh my God. And so, yeah, of course, I was going to post that on his account, and it might get my account deleted, but at least people know that I'm trying to get these people to not be friggin' working. It's just since are not going to friggin' jail these people, we should just be publicly shaming them and giving leaks to like not leaks, but like giving the information that has been leaked, to get where people will not hire them. Okay, so if I were to pursue a movement in the name of handicapped people. Age is the ultimate cloak of deception. When you see someone realizes there. Ooh, very interesting comments, Johnny. I love it. All right. Also, I was going to share something else. Oh yeah, Jesus. Again, just a small clip from a video of mine. Just because it's relevant to what's going on right now. Also, at some point, again, everyone, it is Wednesday, the 6th of November, 2024. Okay, so it's 2024. I'm going to stop the friggin' speed being so fast on this. Actually, I'll do 1.25, but I already speak fast. And spoiler alert in advance, Trump won by more than a lot of people predicted. There was cheating attempts. There were, anyways, there was a lot. I was watching it live pretty much all day. Updates on people's feeds. I was watching people like Dan Bongino, Charlie Kirk, Megyn Kelly I was watching MSNBC and seeing how they were broadcasting and televising the elections as well. And all very interesting, because I don't just like to look at the right-wing media. I also look at the left-wing media. And this morning as well, Jen Psaki didn't seem really about the results, and but I'll get to that. So that did happen, and the swing states. It's yeah, that was very interesting to watch, and it was close at certain points, but by the end of the night, there were just too many votes that were already cast and counted that there was no way that Kamala would have been able to make up any ground in the states that she needed to win. And I will reiterate, there's concerns with both these presidential candidates. Well, Kamala's out now; she lost. But obviously, when you compare the pros and cons of both candidates, Trump did come out a little bit on top, and it's only because of Kamala's connections to cartels, essentially the military pharmaceutical complex and their affiliates as well is connected to these groups, and so but it's not as much or as disgusting as in the other case. And the whole P. Diddy list essentially was in support of Kamala and the Democrats. That should tell you something. And they're the people that fund their campaigns, like the Soros types, the Schwab types, the Gates types. For the Democratic side, that also shows you that they were investing a lot of their own money in order to make it where Trump did not get elected, because the people that he's surrounding himself with during this presidency. And so I've already mentioned names, and it's people like RFK Jr. Concerns with him, yes, he needs to step up and actually go through with all these investigations he's alleged that he's going to conduct. Maha making America healthy again. He talks about the pandemic. He talks about COVID, vaccines and vaccines in general. He talks about the obesity epidemic. He talks about so many things, right? And if he actually hired in that position and actually held people accountable, like Fauci, if Fauci goes to jail, that's a good start. Okay, clearly, with Steve Bannon, like 70 years old, going to jail for however long it was, like 6 or 9 months, anyway, and other people going to jail in their older age, just because it's warfare going on, doesn't mean that Fauci is above that just because of his age or whatever. Hillary Clinton as well, jail. Okay, so if these things happen this time around, then people will have a little bit more hope because no one's been held accountable yet, right? We haven't had, anyway, it is what it is. But, and concerns with his connections with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, because they're pushing, obviously, this outer space narrative, Occupy Mars propaganda, and like the moon landings were fake. We're not going to Mars, guys and girls. They're luminaries. They're within this contained environment, closer and smaller than we're being led to believe. And cymatics and light clearly at play. And yeah, military contractors. Yeah, anyway, I'm going on all these tangents that I've gone on before with my concerns. Trump is pushing the vaccine at the beginning. Certain Space Force. I've already talked about these things. So I do want to get on to Jimmy Dore's story because it's hilarious. And it's MSNBC's Joy Reid blames white women for Kamala losing. So yeah, well, I'll let this play out.
Who will be in Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So Joy Reid knows who's to blame for Kamala losing. It's not Kamala and her policies of genocide. It's not Kamala and her policies of open borders. It's not Kamala and her policies of not even talking about healthcare or the minimum wage, or her policies of not helping the people in Flint, Michigan get clean water, or her policies of abandoning the people in East Palestine, America, or her policies of crushing a union strike.
Nope.
It's not Kamala Harris for sure. You know whose problem it is? I wonder if Joy Reid can find a way to make it a racist statement. Let's see. I bet she can.
It's a state that I think Democrats definitely were reaching for. There was a lot of work to try to turn out the campuses, which were really thick and really packed, and try to turn out the suburbs. And I think there was a lot of hope because of just the insanity, can we say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state. And I thought that, defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, if they didn't make their numbers, and it's numbers that
she's talking about North Carolina
had in the suburbs. And I think we have to be blunt about why.
Why?
Black voters came through for Kamala Harris.
Black voters are good.
Came through.
Problem. Who's the bad people?
White did not.
White women.
That is what it appears.
Oh my God. And Kamala Harris, by the way, who slept her way to the top. Okay. So not merit based at all. Brown, she, and Montel, is it Williams? Yeah. Montel Williams. Like she was like she was a side piece, and then sleeping with a man that was, again, like, not that it should matter because again, she was in her late 20s at the time, but like sleeping with I don't know if he was married or not, me on that. But sleeping with a guy that had a lot of influence in the political sphere, and then she gets all the way to be the vice president. Are you kidding me? And the people that she was surrounding herself with, like Barack Obama and possibly a man, Michelle/Michael Obama might be a man. And also, by the way, the only reason why Michael or Michelle Obama, again, like, it's so prominent and it was in the friggin' White House as the first man or lady, whatever you want to call it, and because of being with Barack Obama, again, she would have not been able to get anywhere near the notoriety and the life experiences and all of this fame and fortune and stuff like that without her husband. Without her husband, he was the president. And again, these were rigged elections anyways. And but just and these are the women that people are propping up as the role models. Oh my goodness, spare me.
Happened in that state.
Let's make it about race. White women. How about the black woman who's committing a genocide? Does she have any responsibility in this? How about you, who didn't pressure her to change her policy? How about that? How about her who crossed a railroad union strike, or didn't bring clean water to the people in Flint, or helping the people in America?
Is that if you can't flip white women, and we talked about this on this set numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks. Yep. But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for
effing white women. I think I just for the first time realized the irony of them calling it women's reproductive rights. Yeah. It's actually women's unreproductive rights. You're not fighting for them to be able to reproduce. You're fighting for them to be able to not reproduce. Is that wrong? What I'm saying, isn't that kind of, that just smacked me right in the face when she said that. Oh, the women's reproductive rights. They're not reproductive. They have the right to reproduce. Let's be precise with our language.
I like unreproductive
And by the way, they have the right
rights.
to unproduce up until 12 weeks in North Carolina. So that's
Reasonable, ladies and gentlemen.
so they still have the unproductive rights. 3 months. Anyway, she has more to say about white women. Goddamn white women.
And this is controversial, but you're on my channel, so like there shouldn't be any surprises with that. But I mean, people focusing on tracking periods better. Like I just don't understand. Like, please explain this to me. A woman could go multiple months without knowing she's pregnant. Like your period stops. Like so, there's clearly a big issue. Like, if you're not aware that you're pregnant when there's so many things biologically in with your breast swelling and getting more tender, like there's morning sickness again, like everyone's a little bit different. And then all right, I'm gonna get into my Instagram. Oh, it's still playing. She's still talking. Is my mute on? Okay, so this is from Brian Lilly. Michelle Rempel Garner asked a legit question. Carney's immigration minister, Lena Diab, calls MRG's numbers misinformation. They came from the minister's website. Complete incompetence. So a lot of people have been sharing that. I'm just giving you the headlines here. Absolutely listen to that. It was incredible just how misinformed she was. All right. Since we're talking about DEI stuff.
And my wife and I don't celebrate it, so let's talk about it. We started noticing a shift like 10 years ago with the whole LGBTQ thing, and having to explain to our then underaged daughter what it meant for people to be walked leashes and their fetishes being on display. We felt this is not an environment for children. We made the decision we're never going back to Pride. COVID made it better because of the Pride Fest. But it was heartbreaking to our then, 15 year old. Heartbreaking for her because she loves rainbows and she's on the special needs spectrum and she just loves all the colors. We had to help her understand in just a very basic common sense way of why we could no longer go to those, because it was very uncomfortable for her to see naked adults walking around, even if you just had a little pasty on. Even if you had just a little G-string on, it's uncomfortable. My wife and I don't subscribe to that stuff. In Utah are all up in arms that they passed a law about not having anything than the American flag on government buildings. So we spend and waste money to create a flag to a law. That's stupid. If you are looking to a flag to make you feel comfortable and not be a victim in a world that is actually very inclusive of LGBTQ whatever members, that's a problem in yourself, unfortunately. And there are ways to like resolve that, but you can't take an entire society and put everybody in the same lump and assume that if you don't like Pride Month, then you're a bigot, or if you don't like this, then you're this. It's got to change. To my wife and I means nothing to us now.
Ontario judges, the friggin' province I'm living in now, but judges wrong to rely on sex assault stereotypes, appeal court rules ordering new trials for acquitted men. As the Supreme Court has emphasized on many occasions, there is no expected proper way for a victim of abuse to act. And so one of the examples was like after a woman was forced with a weapon, I believe it was, to give fellatio, she rinsed her mouth out and didn't flee. Like before fleeing or whatever, like just the nerve of people to say, oh, like that's proof that, like that you weren't a victim. Are you mad? Anyway, I'm just going to make sure that I get it right. So this is from Ron Chisner. 2 sexual assault cases in Ontario are being sent back for new trials because the original judges relied on dangerous, outdated stereotypes about how victims should act, and it's absolutely unacceptable. One of those judges was Justice Renew Manhane, the same judge who recently dropped a firearm charge and called police systemically racist. But in this case, wow, a judge calling calling police systemically racist. Unbelievable. But in this case, she did exactly what she once spoke out against. A woman said she was forced to perform oral sex at knife point. Afterwards, she went on to run her mouth in the bathroom instead of trying to flee. Manhain said that defied common sense. Literally saying this to a victim defied common sense. As if there's a right way to react after being violently assaulted. The Court of Appeal tore that apart, saying her logic was based on harmful rape myths that have no place in our courts. Defied common sense. I just can't even believe that. Like, first of all, you're in a fight or flight response. Like, your brain, like your executive functioning skills are not operating at all. And so, like, you have rational thought after what you just went through, after going through, forced to perform oral sex at knife point. You think that she's going to be making rational decisions? You clown. You cunt. Anyways, in another case, a judge dismissed a child's claim of repeated sexual abuse because she kept spending time with her abuser. I know people in law enforcement in various capacities where I've been provided with information about children, minors, who were sexually assaulted by family members. This case was her grandfather, and she had been in the foster system and stuff like that as well. And she did not want to live with him, but she had no choice. They kept on sending her back to her grandfather, despite the fact that she even posted a video, and I shared the video of her admitting that he had sexually assaulted her when she was a child. And so the system is broken right now, and it's overwhelmed. It's being inundated with all these new crimes because of the immigration policies that we put in place in the last 5 years, especially. And oh my God. Again, the Court of Appeal called it out for what it was, victim blaming and flat out wrong. This isn't just poor judgment. It's a failure of the justice system. When even judges who claim to stand for victims fall into the same traps, what hope do survivors have? These rulings prove that many have been saying what many have been saying for years. The system is broken and survivors are being re-traumatized by the very people meant to deliver justice. So these are the clowns. And again, I'm saying this, and these are freaking judges, so it's not like, like if they watch this, they can literally get me, like use their positions of authority because they seem like the types abusing their authorities and get people to intimidate me. Anyway, but we have to get the truth out there. So this is from July 17th, 2024. This was like almost a year ago. Anyway. Someone that had gone detransitioning. More and more of these people also need to be propped up in social media because people within the trans community, the LGBTQIA community, that have hijacked the community. I'm saying like not people that are actually genuinely LGBTQ. But anyways, people that have gone through transitioning and that regret it, these people are also getting shut out by the community that are supposed to be allies. And it's just because they're pushing what they don't want to be pushed, right? People that want to recruit or groom do not want these stories coming out. And it's so disgusting to me because this is probably why of more of an increase in suicides within people that have transitioned between the 5 and 7 year mark after transitioning.
Howdy there, I'm Noah. I'm a detransitioned male. I was on estrogen for 4.5 years. I started transitioning at 18, and then I detransitioned about 6 months ago. Today, I want to talk about transition. So, some people detransition and they don't actually regret transitioning in the first place. They see it as like part of their journey. Maybe they like the lingering effects of exogenous hormones. That's not me, okay? I view transitioning as the single worst mistake in my life. It had immediate negative consequences with my family because they could just like not wrap their head around my desire to transition. I wanted them to use this new name and pronouns like pretty immediately. They did not want to do that because they did not want to like affirm this identity that, they were hoping I would like come to my senses. I did not. I ignored them. But yeah, it drove this huge wedge between us, and that was really hard for me. Parents, I'm so close to my parents. I went into my freshman year of college during COVID, and this was all like the first year of my transition, and I had a really hard time making connections like on campus or like with anyone just because like I was a very non-passing trans woman, and honestly I was never very good at like cohering to gendered expectations of women, so I don't know, I don't think people took me very seriously outside of like these very trans affirming like social groups. Also, like having a trans identity, constantly worrying about passing, about being misgendered, that kind of thing, it made me like incredibly neurotic, and I'm already like a neurotic person.
Jesus.
So yeah, this is not even to mention like the physical effects. If it was just like I'd gone socially transitioned, I would feel like a lot better about it. But no, I had facial feminization surgery, so I do miss like my like strong brow bone. I don't like looking a little more androgynous like I do now. But the biggest effects have been the lingering effects of estrogen. I have some gynecomastia, which is, really not like too bad, as you can see. Like my thighs are a little bit thicker than the average guys. But the annoying stuff is like below the waist. You can Google the effects of estrogen on the male body if you'd like to. Things like still work after being off estrogen. I have normal T levels, but my libido is kind of low. Function is like 50% of what it was pre-transition, and my fertility is up in the air, which sucks, but yeah. When I was identifying as a woman, like estrogen actually did like affirm my identity and made me feel good. But now that I'm living as a man again and not really identifying as one, but viewing myself as a man, it horrifies me a little bit that I like put myself through chemical castration. But again, it is what it is. So I don't consider my transition to be part of some like wonderful journey. I feel physically and mentally stunted. I feel like a tree that grew in the wrong direction for 4.5 years. Now I have to break off the branch and like restart. I feel diminished, and yeah, I'm angry at myself that I bought into a belief system that taught me I could become a woman if I wanted to. And for me, that belief system has been an important step in healing. Thank you.
Oh my God, chemical castration. So this is Republican Party win. The Supreme Court just ruled in a unanimous choice that reverse discrimination is discrimination. DEI is institutional racism and must be removed from all companies and institutions in the US. I really hope that Canada follows suit with this. And again, I've been pushing that. I've been saying that, like, vocally saying that this is something that has been incredibly harmful for years. Like even in 2019, like I had been invited to go on global news, and I did an interview, and I even in that I was mentioning just the the propaganda, mainstream media with the misinformation and how it could cause further division, and it seems like, I and again, this is not self-aggrandizing, but like I called it, right? I'm not, and then even with the Emergency Act being declared, saying even before it was we even voted on, that it was unconstitutional, unlawful, etc. And only a little over a year ago, like again, it was in the courts, and it was an initial, it was official. I mean that it was. Judge Mosley, I believe was his name. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh my God, I forget it. But anyway, a hero. And he deemed that, made the decision that, in fact, the Emergency Act was unlawful and unconstitutional. And so we could have saved a lot of grief and a lot of taxpayers' money had people just friggin' hired people like me. And again, I was offering to do this, to give this information for free and speak to people for free, all levels of government. Yeah, it would have just unfucked a lot of stuff. So I'm going to do another video today. It's going to be a very interesting one that I just listened to yesterday by Dave Weiss. There's a lot of science in it, and the people that are on the show are incredibly smart on either side of the debate, and so it was very impressive. And so I'm going to leave this video here on that note. And if you don't come back later, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.